this time around.
Just behind us here, you can see a massive burn scar. There's no more smoke, no more fire, but there's still a danger. And that's why there are lines of firefighters right now with cutting tools like chainsaws and axes, clearing all the brush, making sure there's no fuel in case those winds pick up and carry embers.
We were with CAL FIRE as they worked to clear brush before those dangerous winds hit burn zones.
So you're worried about this area because there's still brush here and it's so close to those homes right there.
That's correct.
Firefighters lined up on cliffs, scaling canyons, and on the lookout.
They're putting their lives on the line to get out in front of something that most people wouldn't get in front of.
Over the weekend, California's National Guard dropping flame retardant on hot spots in the Palisades fire. After flare-ups forced new evacuations in Encino and Brentwood, triggering this eerie fire-nado. The Eaton and Palisades fire still mostly uncontained, with speculation on the origins of the infernos running rampant. The ATF now leading a newly formed task force to investigate the cause of the Palisades fire, as multiple law enforcement sources tell NBC News that a possible human cause is an early focus in this case.
They're identifying cause and origin for each of these separate fires. There's so many of them. None have been ruled out of arson.
The death toll has now reached 24 and expected to rise, including 95-year-old Delise Mama D. Curry of Altadena.
That was her refrigerator. This is where she would be.
Her granddaughter looking for her remains in what's left of her home.
Mama D, are you here?
Officials today urging residents to stay out of evacuation zones.
People are saying, I just want to go look at my house and I want to see what's left. We know that, but we have people literally looking for the remains of your neighbors.
Law enforcement in the region announcing more than 70 arrests, including looting and burglary charges. The FBI says unauthorized drones over the fire zones are now well into the double digits as they search for the drone pilot that crashed into a Canadian super scooper last week, grounding the aircraft for days. Today, the Los Angeles Unified School District reopened most of its 1,000 campuses, giving students some return to normalcy.
I've been pretty scared coming here, but I feel as long as the doors are open, I feel safe.
Schools damaged by the fires or inside the evacuation zones remain closed, with tens of thousands pushed from their homes, now forced to start over. One estimate says the insured losses are already at least $30 billion.
Right now, I'm trying to just keep it together to find us a place to live for us, temporary living for our family and my parents.
Andrea Heindel lost her family home, as did her parents.
How tough is it?
It is tough. There's millions of people looking at millions of different places, and so we just have to figure out one step at a time how we're going to handle it.
And with the winds bringing the possibility of new fires and destruction just like this, some homeowners plan to take matters into their own hands. Once again, Gotti Schwartz tonight with their stories.
For days, so many across Los Angeles faced off against apocalyptic wildfires. Some homeowners defying the evacuation orders, choosing to protect their properties amid the hellscape.
We need a water drop.
Thick plumes of smoke billow into the LA sky, turning daylight into a hazy twilight. Helicopter footage captures mansions engulfed in flames as the wildfires rage uncontrollably. Celebrities, once enjoying the height of luxury, now face unimaginable loss. The camera pans over the remains of sprawling estates, the devastation stark and heart-wrenching. Everything we had is gone, a voice narrates, setting the tone. The battle against nature's fury has begun.
Sprinklers, hoses, generators, pumps, and tonight facing new red flag warnings, some Angelenos say they are preparing for round two. In wealthy enclaves, rows of water trucks and private firefighters standing at the ready.
And right here we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different water trucks. There's another 3 down the way.
Those in the evacuation zones who lived to tell the tale of how they saved their streets say they did what they could with high-pressured hoses.
So we were in all of our neighbors' backyards and lugging our hoses around.
In Altadena, Felipe Carrillo saving 2 houses on his street with a garden hose.
I caught on fire a couple of times.
You caught on fire?
Yes, and so what I started doing is every once in a while I would just spray myself with the garden hose. Just soak myself with the garden hose and continue to fight.
Fire officials say those who stay to fight the fire are putting their lives at risk. 66-year-old Victor Shaw died in the Eaton fire. His remains found holding a garden hose. Right along the coast, owners of this row of homes had their own fire hoses ready and some willing to risk their lives.
There's another hot spot that just started up. So we're hooking up our fire hoses again to put it down before the wind starts again.
When the fire rolled in, Clayton Colbert and his friends stood their ground, tapping into the hydrant and saving 6 homes.
Do you have any firefighting experience? I mean,
I do now.
Yeah. What do you think would have happened if you and your neighbors weren't here?
Oh, my house would have been gone in a matter of minutes.
Tonight, Steve Foster's home is still standing, but most of the surrounding community is gone.
It's been difficult, but we're getting through it.
Would you leave?
I'm not leaving. I've been here the whole time. I have no intentions of leaving until my neighbors are back.
And Tom, technically, it's a misdemeanor not to evacuate during the chaos, but it's not always enforced. However, firefighters say, bottom line, every moment during a firefight is precious. And if they have to be pulled off of a fire line to come save someone that is not supposed to be there, it not only jeopardizes their lives, but puts the whole community at risk. Tom?
Gotti Schwartz tonight for us in Malibu. Gotti, we thank you for that. And for those who have lost everything, another crisis has quickly emerged. Where will they find a new place to live? Here's Morgan Chesky.
We're going to find a house, I promise. I promise we'll find a house.
A promise for a new home. Ashley and Tim Paul Mateer are now fighting to keep amid a disaster that's ignited a citywide housing crisis. The family of 5, 6, including their pup Apollo, one of dozens, packing an open house. After watching flames approach, then engulf their beloved Palisades home.
Wednesday afternoon, we saw footage that our entire neighborhood had burned down.
With more than 12,000 structures destroyed and potentially more to come, the demand for LA's rental market exploding overnight.
You call and you're like, hey, can I come see it? And they're like, nope, it's rented. You call another one. Hey, can I come see it today? Nope, it's rented already. So it's...
Ashley says she's looked into 50 properties over the last several days.
In some cases, people driving hours just to find a home.
Yes.
LA realtor Tanya Stosky says fewer options are already leading to price gouging.
We have greedy landlords who are spiking up the prices, and we also have a bidding war.
Actor Chris Hemsworth posts an emotional video on social media. We're safe, but our home didn't make it, he says, his voice breaking. Behind him, flames can be seen flickering in the distance. Fans flood the comments with support, offering donations and words of comfort. His message ends with a plea for action. Let's do what we can to help the firefighters, he says, his resilience shining through.
Nathan is also spreading, just as Facebook has decided to stop fact-checking and go to community notes, I guess they're calling it. Donnie O'Sullivan takes a look at some of the misinformation that's out there right now.
California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things.
Mel Gibson on Fox News primetime after losing his home in the California fires.
And then in the events like this, you sort of look, oh, is it on purpose? Which, it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be, I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
Conspiracy theories spreading like wildfire.
This is an obvious land grab. They get them out of their homes this way, and then they can build whatever they want to build.
From the common refrain that it's all part of a government plot.
This is siege by design.
To suspected AI-generated video and images falsely showing the fires approaching the iconic Hollywood sign. Fact-checkers working for Meta have been debunking some of the misinformation on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey everyone.
But last week, Mark Zuckerberg announced this.
We're going to get rid of fact-checkers and replace them with community notes.
Replacing fact-checkers with community notes, a form of crowdsourced fact-checking that is used on X. But critics say Zuckerberg shouldn't be trying to emulate X, pointing to viral misinformation on that platform that goes unchecked. Like this post, viewed almost 500,000 times, baselessly claiming DARPA, a wing of the Department of Defense, started the fires.
I'm here with the Fire Command team
at the Palisades fire?
Indeed, X's owner Elon Musk has spent the last week elevating conspiracy theories about the fires.
What about water availability?
Responding to a post from disgraced conspiracy theorist Alex Jones that the fires are part of a globalist plot, Musk responded, "True."
Antonio Sullivan joins us now. In a situation like this, I mean, it always happens, but it seems particularly acute right now.
Absolutely. And look, one of the big issues, particularly which we saw last year with hurricanes Helene and Milton, and also before that the Maui wildfires, is that a lot of this misinformation makes people who need support from government agencies, whether it be local agencies or FEMA, distrust. That's something we particularly saw after the hurricanes. We're seeing less of that here right now, but what we are seeing is, and of course, look, there is a political debate to be had about the policies here in California, but it has gone beyond that. We have seen the president-elect coming in with just straight-up false claims about policies here. And then, of course, Elon Musk, the owner of X, as you saw in that piece there, engaging with really wild conspiracy theories in terms of that this is a planned event. It's not. But also then really leaning into this sort of culture war stuff about DEI, diversity and inclusion policies and everything else like that. So it's really just a pretty toxic stew online right now. And on top of that, we're seeing changes at Meta coming soon with removing these fact checks.
Lady Gaga stands on the charred remains of her property, her iconic piano reduced to ashes. This house held memories of my greatest triumphs and struggles, she shares in a heartfelt video. Her tears flow freely as she reflects on her loss but expresses gratitude for her safety. Things can be replaced, but lives cannot, she emphasizes. Her fans rally behind her, echoing her message of hope and resilience.
Captain Eric Scott, he is the Public Information Officer for the Los Angeles Fire Department. And Captain, it's great to have you back. Obviously, you've been joining us in these touch-and-go situations. I know y'all are very busy, so you're joining us on the phone tonight. We've been talking about these red flag warnings that are now in place through Wednesday evening. What is your biggest concern about that tonight?
The wind is king. It always has been, and we saw it be so devastating last week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So we've been getting breaks, and then she comes back, and it's been very difficult. So the area of major concern for the Palisades burn perimeter remains the northeast area, Mandeville Canyon. It's a lot of homes, very narrow hairpin turns that we had to proactively enact parking restrictions to keep vehicles out of areas that turn to choke points in case there's additional evacuations. But right now we got a lot of firefighters lined up there, and our air assets are continuing to do a wonderful job.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at live pictures right now in LA. This is from KCAL and KCBS. You're showing firefighters trying to contain a fire. I mean, you can see how close it is to a neighborhood on this map as we're looking at this. Mm-hmm. The biggest concern we've heard is new fires starting as a result of this warning, but this particularly dangerous situation warning that is so rare. If they do, are you prepared for that?
Yes, we've battled these PDS incidents in the past, particularly dangerous situations, but they are significant. We take them very seriously. So we have a ton of resources here, over 5,000 firefighters that remain on scene, and we have over 40 helicopters that are assigned. We have a very large contingency of fixed wing, including C-130s from National Guard that's here, very large DC-10. So some of these will drop water on target hazards to protect property. Others will be more defensive and drop retardant to stop the flames at what we call the 3 Rs, the roads, rivers, and ridges. So they're doing a wonderful job, and we continue to expect night operations to continue.
Are you worried that the winds could get so bad, though, that those aerial flights have to stop again, which was, of course, the issue at the beginning of these fires?
Yeah, that's more of a worst case scenario. If that happens, it makes so much more difficult to stop the flame front. So I was talking to our chief pilots today, and some of the thresholds are at 40 miles per hour, but at the ridges, it could be cut even in half. It's really up to the discretion of the chief pilot. The main thing on their mind is safety, of course, safety for their members. If that aircraft goes down, now you have loss of life, and it can't do anything. Plus, if the wind is so significant, the water dropping out of the bottom is vaporized, the target's not hit. So we have to consider that. But right now, again, we're really proud to say that boots are on the ground and the birds are in the air.
Yeah, I mean, it's just remarkable what we're looking at now to see how close these firefighters are to this fire. This is in Riverside, California, that we're watching right now. I mean, and obviously dealing with a lot of the brush there and vegetation. I mean, one, this is just amazing to watch. I know we've expressed, I mean, they have changed.
Kim Kardashian posts an update from her temporary refuge, thanking firefighters for saving parts of her neighborhood. It's terrifying to see how quickly it all happened, she admits. Kendall and Kylie Jenner share videos of their scorched backyard, expressing their shock. The family announces a significant donation to wildfire relief efforts. We need to stand together as a community, Kim concludes, urging others to help.
Losing a home is hard. Losing a home to a wildfire is heartbreaking. But losing a home to a wildfire without insurance, that is life-shattering. And in Los Angeles, it is a grim reality. LA is battling devastating fires. Yet just months ago, thousands had their insurance cancelled. Why is that? Why are so many homes in LA uninsured? To understand that, let's look at State Farm. State Farm is a major US property insurance provider. It is also the biggest insurer in the region. In Los Angeles, in this place alone, State Farm covers around 250,000 homes, 250,000 homes. But here's the problem. Last year, State Farm began pulling back. It cancelled 30,000 insurance policies. In Pacific Palisades, 1,600 policies were dropped. Now, this neighborhood has around 9,000 residential units. The median value of a house is around $3.1 million, so it is an expensive neighborhood. And this matters because now these expensive homes have been gutted. Pacific Palisades is one of the areas hardest hit by the wildfires. It's been nearly wiped out, so all those expensive homes are gone without an insurance cover. And State Farm is not the only one. Other major insurers are also stepping away, leaving thousands of people vulnerable in wildfire-prone areas. Between 2020 and 2022, insurers refused to renew 2.8 million policies. 2.8 million. Over 500,000 were in Los Angeles. Those who did not get their policies cancelled had it even harder. Let me show you this report from the LA Times. One homeowner initially paid $4,500 for insurance. But at the time of renewal, the renewal of the policy, he was given a new quote, this time for $18,000. That was the new insurance amount, $18,000, almost 4 times what he had initially paid. So it is between the devil and the deep blue sea, either cancelled insurance or exorbitant rates. What explains this trend? In recent years, insurance companies have changed the way they work. Most of them use sophisticated...
Actor Gerard Butler walks through the smoldering remains of his Malibu home. It's surreal to see this, he says, gesturing toward the debris. He shares his gratitude for the safety of his neighbors and the heroic efforts of first responders. The video goes viral, showing the stark reality of the wildfires. This isn't just about celebrities. This is affecting everyone, he reminds viewers.
They don't want to bear the cost of disasters like the current wildfires in Los Angeles. Take State Farm, for example. In 2022, its losses were $6.7 billion. In 2023, it was around $6.3 billion. So scaling back policies meant fewer losses. But where does this leave the residents? Many of them had only one resort, the FAIR Plan, FAIR. It stands for Fair Access to Insurance Requirements. FAIR is funded by California's private home insurers. It offers only limited coverage, yet thousands of people opted for it. In 2020, 1.4 million residents depended on FAIR. That number went up to 2.7 million in 2023. So more and more people are resorting to this insurance. And this has left the insurer in trouble. It faces a potential loss of $311 billion. All of this raises one question: what could Los Angeles have done better? For one, insurance policies need a complete overhaul. It's not just about mandating coverage. It is about balancing risks and responsibilities. Insurers should be incentivized to stay in wildfire-prone areas. Governments must have risk-sharing mechanisms so that the financial burden does not fall on one party. California seems to have realized it now, the hard way. The state now mandates insurers to provide coverage in wildfire-prone areas. This is a new regulation. It aims to give residents access to more insurance options. Of course, it's a step in the right direction, but is it too late? For homeowners who've already lost everything, it is late. But for the rest, it could provide a lifeline. Because when homes burn, it is not just property, it is lives.
Miley Cyrus shares photos of her burned-down home, where she and Liam Hemsworth started their life together. This house held so much love and history, she writes in a heartfelt caption. Despite the loss, she expresses gratitude for her pets and fiancé, who all made it out safely. Her fans flood the post with messages of love and strength. Miley's resilience inspires many to donate and raise awareness.
The number of people killed has risen to 16, and a dozen are missing after 5 days of these devastating fires. The two biggest blazes in the city remain largely uncontained, and more strong winds are forecast over the coming days. Now, those two fires have destroyed an area more than twice the size of New York's Manhattan. No cause has yet been established for these fires, and firefighters have made some progress against the worst of the infernos, the Palisades fire, which has scorched nearly 35 square miles. And it's described as being 11% contained. Now, that basically means that barriers or fire breaks have been placed around 11% of its perimeter. And the Palisades fire is now threatening Brentwood. That's one of LA's most exclusive neighborhoods, where celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger and the basketball star LeBron James have their homes. There have also been dramatic scenes of aircraft dropping thousands of gallons of fire retardant on the hills and the scrub. It's all in an attempt to put out the blazes. But if the winds do pick up, it will be harder to get those aircraft and the helicopters into the air. More than 12,000 homes and other buildings have been destroyed so far. The second biggest blaze is the Eaton fire, and it's destroyed more than 20 square miles, and it was described as being 15% contained. Firefighters have mostly contained two smaller blazes, the Kenneth and the Hearst fires. However, the National Weather Service is warning that the Santa Ana winds that whipped up the fires at the outset could increase again over the weekend and also in the next coming few days. 7 neighbouring states, the federal government, Canada and also Mexico have sent resources to California. Well, our first report comes from Helena Humphrey, who is in LA.
Still, the fires grow, hungry and unrelenting, as firefighters remain locked in a battle against nature's fury. From the sky, it's an all-out assault to keep the largest of these deadly wildfires in the Pacific Palisades from spreading any further, bombarding the flaming hills with water and fire retardant. Meanwhile, on the ground, the National Guard is out in force. A nighttime curfew is in effect to clamp down on those profiting from the chaos.
A lot of crime, a lot of people trying to steal things, but if you protect yourself and your family, I have to be there to protect my wife, my son, my kids, my mom, and I cannot even go and see them. I've been in the street for 3 days. Luckily, my sister lived on the street, or else I'd end up in the street.
But this unprecedented crisis is also bringing out the best in humanity. At a local shelter in Pasadena, volunteers are caring for more than 450 animals, dropped off by evacuees or found wandering amid the destruction. Others who escaped with only the clothes on their backs are desperately searching for the beloved pets they lost in the scramble to get out.
Survivors here have lost everything, entire homes reduced to rubble. And with days of winds now forecast, it's a race against time to stop these fires from spreading further.
Los Angeles knows it needs all the help it can get. And with a change of administration looming in Washington, local officials say they've yet to hear from the incoming president.
I wrote a letter to President-elect Trump.
Leonardo DiCaprio, a longtime environmental activist, uses the tragedy to highlight climate change. "This is the reality we're facing," he says in an interview, his tone urgent. "We need to take action to prevent this from becoming the new normal." He pledges a substantial donation to both firefighting efforts and climate advocacy groups. His words ignite debates online, bringing the issue to global attention.
Efforts and to visit the county to see the impact firsthand that it has on every socioeconomic individual in this county.
For now, it is all hands on deck. Firefighting crews have arrived from across the United States, with Mexico and Canada sending in battle-tested teams of their own. They know that any pickup in the now notorious Santa Ana winds could wipe out their hard-won progress in an instant. Helena Humphrey, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Well, as Helena was mentioning there, Mexico is among one of the countries which has sent firefighters to assist in combating these wildfires, as local officials seek to draft in help from across the US as well. 2 plane loads of more than 70 firefighters, along with their equipment, landed in LA International Airport on Saturday, and they were greeted by California's Governor Gavin Newsom. The firefighters are expected to join combating efforts within the next 36 hours, and Gavin Newsom talked about the new help efforts.
This is what friends do. This is what relationships are all about. Friends in need, being there for one another. We want to be there for the people of Mexico in times of need and disasters, and we're incredibly humbled and grateful that the president was willing to send the crew you see behind me. They'll be out on the lines within the next 24, 36 hours, and we're very, very grateful.
Well, they're going to be joining the hundreds of firefighters who are working around the clock to tackle these blazes. Liz Lynn is president of the LA Fire Department Foundation. It's been assisting firefighters in the area. She spoke about just how tough it's been for them.
The firefighters are now on day 5 or 6. They have been there since day 1. We are normally during a fire season, which happens in the fall. Very rarely do we have something in January. You see one fire. There's something like 6 fires, and they keep popping up. And what's even more usual is that the fire behavior and the winds are things we've never seen. We saw this in Hawaii a couple of years ago, and we're seeing it here. And unpredictable behavior, uncontrollable winds, driving these fires to cause mass devastation. It's unprecedented in the city of LA and in the nation for what we're seeing. And my only mission is to serve the Los Angeles Fire Department. With that, anything that they need during these fires, anything that the budgets didn't support, anything that helps them do the job that they do to save lives and protect the community, we will fund. And our funding depends on the general public. So this morning I was at Palisades and I bought some technology equipment because some of the computers and things were failing. Hero wipes, eye goggles, something as simple as eye drops, making sure that they have everything that they need to keep them safe, to keep them healthy, and to keep them doing this job. I was in Palisades this morning touring the sites. We had a couple of our canine therapy dogs available, not only for the firefighters, but for the families that were starting to come in and seeing their homes and the devastation that a street and a block where it's completely decimated, and then there's one house standing, and you ask yourself why. And so it's very, very emotional, and unfortunately we have some resources that we can use.
Ellen DeGeneres films her evacuation process, her pets piled into her car. It's heartbreaking to leave, not knowing if we'll have a home to return to, she says. Her viewers watch as she shares updates, offering support to those facing the same fate. Ellen later announces a fundraising campaign on her show, bringing in millions for wildfire victims. Her efforts showcase the power of unity in times of crisis.
Witnessed the urgent effort underway from the air. More than 3 days after the fires first broke out, I just flew up over the fires with CAL FIRE, and while we were in the air, we witnessed not only the devastation along the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu and Pacific Palisades, miles of homes wiped away, but also days into this fire, we witnessed the water being dropped on active fires right now. They are trying to save entire neighborhoods deep in the canyons, and you're about to see it right here. Overnight, peak winds again gusting to 81 miles an hour. Red flag warnings remain in place tonight, and they are very concerned about strong winds in the forecast yet again. It's believed some 12,000 homes and structures have burned to the ground. At least 11 people have died. That number is expected to rise. Our ABC News exclusive right here tonight, the view from above as we travel with CAL FIRE. We were in the air late today as crews dropped water on Topanga Canyon below as they try to save homes in Fernwood. The Palisades fire, the biggest by size, more than 20,000 acres now, home after home, street after street, turned to ashes. Just 8% contained. New fires continue to flare up, this one breaking out late today. And tonight, the Eaton fire in Altadena and Pasadena is now the most destructive in LA history, believed to have destroyed more than 7,000 structures, homes, and businesses, just 3% contained. Just 24 hours ago, the Kenneth fire erupting in West Hills, burning over 1,000 acres in just a matter of hours. 8,000 firefighters and emergency personnel now deployed here, including the National Guard. Firefighters from all over the country stepping in, but most live here, working around the clock in horrific conditions, some losing their own homes. They are the heroes here. And tonight, the questions now being asked about decisions made early on in these fires. But we do begin tonight with our flight with CAL FIRE up over the devastation and the fires here still burning as we come on the air here in the West on this third night from California. Tonight, the ABC News exclusive. We take flight with CAL FIRE up over the Pacific Coast Highway, headed toward the Pacific Palisades. And the first images we see here, the coastline, the homes of Malibu that once lined the ocean, are gone.
It's just stunning to look at this stretch along the Pacific Coast Highway here in Malibu. You can see it right over the shoulder here. Home after home just completely gone.
They are taking us to where they say there is a firefight right now from the air. They are now dropping water. But before we even get there, over this ridge, the Pacific Palisades, entire communities wiped away, homes burned to the ground.
This is just a devastating view as we fly over Pacific Palisades. You can see down low just how quickly these fires spread.
CAL FIRE Deputy Incident Commander Justin McComb.
When you look at the scope of the devastation here, what kind of winds were you dealing with in those first 24 hours?
The winds that we saw were 70, 80 miles an hour along the Pacific Coast Highway. And that was what the environment...
Tina Knowles, Beyonce's mother, lost her cherished Malibu bungalow, a sanctuary she lovingly called her happy place in her grief. She took a moment to thank firefighters and first responders, reflecting the collective gratitude many feel for those who risked their lives battling these infernos.
The firefighters were dealing with, there was embers just flying across laterally. Very difficult to even do anything as far as perimeter control. They were putting the edges of the fire out. It was mainly going house to house and protecting as many homes as you could. And the priority was to work for the life safety to try to get people out of the fire.
He tells me 3 days into this historic disaster, they are still fighting the fires here. We see bulldozers on this ridge, trapping the fire.
You can see the flames burning over our shoulder here. This is now 3 days into this. Almost impossible to get to that.
And then we see it. Choppers in the air, crossing the canyon, dropping water, trying to protect the homes with flames moving in.
You can see the urgent effort here right now. This is Topeka Canyon. They're trying to save the homes in Fernwood. That helicopter just dropped water from the air. 3 days into this disaster, they are still fighting fires here, and they have a tool now at their disposal, which is water in the air.
There are so many fires still burning here, more than 72 hours now after the first fires began. Tonight, the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, the Hearst fire, the Lydia fire, the Kenneth fire, and the newest fire to break out, the Archer fire, all still burning. Back on the ground tonight, the families returning home to see what, if anything, is left. The father who told me his wife, his 2 boys are safe, but they lost everything. And while we were in that neighborhood, we learned of another family nearby. They had not been back. One of the children, 21-year-old Jacob Brown, going back today. And he showed me what he found.
David, I'm sure you saw, the entire town is gone. Our lives, our homes, our friends, everyone has lost everything. I don't understand how you can attempt to rebuild an entire community without schools and roads and homes. It's devastation beyond the comprehensible.
Jacob's childhood home, now nothing but ashes. He rings the doorbell of a friend's home, haunting because it still rings, though behind it there is nothing left. The alarms still ringing here in what was once a church and a school.
There's still hot spots, active fire.
Just a few miles to the east, David Hansen is still waiting to get back in to see his mother's home.
LA Fire Department, total heroes. doing a great job.
David giving a thumbs up to the firefighters. His mother, a senior, capturing video from outside her home just 30 minutes after the fire broke out nearby. Her neighbors were trying to use water from their pool to protect their home. Tonight, across Los Angeles, at least 11 lives now lost. It's believed more than 12,000 structures, homes, and businesses damaged or destroyed. More than 55 square miles burned. More than 150,000 under evacuation orders.
Jamie Chung and her husband Brian Greenberg didn't just lose a home, they lost a piece of themselves. Yet, in the midst of their grief, they used their platform to direct followers to fundraisers for other fire victims, showing the power of community and compassion in times of need.
We want to take you now to a press conference where Los Angeles County officials are giving new details on the impacts from the windstorm affecting the region's wildfires. Let's take a listen.
To go out countywide yesterday, after the first erroneous alert was corrected, we've been working tirelessly with FEMA, the FCC, the state, and our region's telecommunications providers, and we've made the preliminary determination that the echo alerts happened as cell towers came back online after they were knocked offline due to this disaster. The outdated alerts were cached in the system, and as they came back online, started being released to the public. We are very grateful to our federal and state partners who are working with the cell phone providers to make sure that all of these outdated alerts are flushed from the cell phone towers so that this ceases. We believe this process is largely complete, and we are working with our federal partners and the providers to ensure that there is not a reoccurrence of the alerts going out in error. This has been frustrating, unacceptable, and the public is in the most need of accurate information, and we are moving forward rapidly to reestablish that. Finally, the press release spells out some of the immediate improvements that we are concurrently making to establish a more robust multi-layered notification system. We're enhancing 211 call network to respond to the public's urgent need for information. Technology, it can be great. These emergency alerts helped us evacuate hundreds of thousands of people in immediate life safety measures. We've undoubtedly saved lives. But the last couple of days have also reminded us that technology is vulnerable to the impacts of a disaster, especially unprecedented ones. So I will close by reminding everyone in the public, please, for your safety, the safety of your family and friends, to receive emergency alerts, you can sign up for our local program, which will be utilized by the state by going to Alert LA County. These are customized alerts. They are different than the wireless emergency alert. When you sign up, you can put landlines, your cell phone, you could receive text and email messages.